Oh hey, didn't see you there. I'm just kidding. I knew you were here. Like many young athletes, I too once dreamt of competing in the Olympics, but then I also wanted to be a teenager. I also wanted to have fun. So, that dream did not come to fruition, and that's okay. But in honor of the Olympics opening ceremony being aired today, I thought I would do a Olympic-inspired makeup look. For my eyebrows, I'm going to go in with the NYX Micro Brow Pencil in the shade Ash Brown. And I'm going to very lightly fill in my brows. I've mainly filled in the tail end of my brows, and I kind of left the center parts bare. And for the center of my brows, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Wow Brow Mascara in the shade Natural Brown. And I'm going to brush the center of my brows. And I'm brushing them up, but then I'm like relaying them back down. And I'm going through my entire eyebrow. I feel like this really helps define the hairs while also keeping my brows pretty natural looking. For my face, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation in the shade 21. But I'm going to mix that with a little bit of my moisturizer just so we get a very sheer coverage. Because this look is a little bit more inspired by the athletes. So since they're athletes and they're healthy and exercise, unlike me right now, I really want to go for that like really healthy, glowing skin that looks a lot like skin, just more of like an even skin tone. And I just want to go for a very healthy look. And for me personally, since I was an ice skater, I loved doing my makeup for competitions because that was the only time I got to wear makeup as a kid. I loved dressing up. I loved the rhinestones. I loved everything about getting ready to perform and compete. So now that we have an even coverage, I'm just going back in with a little bit more foundation to cover up my little pimples. And I'm also just popping on a little bit of lip balm just because my lips are kind of dry right now. This lip balm was actually $1 and it makes my lips look so good. Next, for concealer, I'm going to go in with the NYX Bear With Me Serum Concealer in the shade Fair, mixed with the LA Colors concealer in the shade Light. I'm gonna do more of like a 50-50 mix. This is just purely for color purposes because one is too dark and one is too light for me. And I'm gonna tap it along my orbital bone just a little bit, as well as down the bridge of my nose. And I'm gonna use my sponge to blend that all out. To set that in place, I'm going to use the Well People setting powder, and I'm actually going to go in with a powder puff. This is just one I got off Amazon. I have been having trouble using this powder and I haven't been loving it, and I don't know if it's the powder or the concealer, but the fact that no matter what concealer I use, it still kind of like clings to texture, I'm convinced that it is the powder itself. But I heard using a powder puff, it's actually better for like dry skin. It really pushes the product into your face. So I'm hoping I can learn to at least like this powder because I've bought it now. For my face, I'm gonna go in with the NYX Buttermelt Bronzer in the shade Buttercup. And with a really big fluffy brush, I'm going to dip my brush into the powder, rub it into the lid of the powder, and then I'm going to tap off the excess. And then I'm going to very lightly start bronzing up my face in big circular motions. And I love this powder because it does blend out really beautifully. And it does make you look quite healthy, and it has kind of like a rosy tint to it. So I'm being very liberal with my bronzer, because this is the way we're bringing in color and dimension back to our face instead of using contour, because I just really want that healthy athletic glow and not so much like of a structured face, you know? As I get to my nose, I'm gonna go vertically, and I'm doing this twice. So I'm dipping into my powder twice and then going back into my face. So that's one side bronzed, one side with nothing, and it just looks so healthy and glowy. And with whatever's remaining on the brush, I'm just lightly dusting that on my eyelids. For my blush, I'm going to use the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blush in the shade Pretty Peachy. And the reason I'm using this one is because it has such a beautiful glow, and I'm really applying it onto my cheekbones, kind of in the center, and then definitely out here, a little lower of a placement, because I want to give that really natural flushed look like I've been exercising. My whole face turns bright red every time I exercise, so I'm pretty liberal with this, especially since it's the Summer Olympics. You can kind of go pretty liberal with the bronzer and blush, really add that color back to your face. And again, on my eyelids. Ignore what I did to my eyes. I didn't like it. For my eyeshadow, I'm going to go in with the Stila Shimmer and Glow in the shade Starlight. It's just a really pretty, bright, cool toned gold. And for the lightest amount of definition, I'm going to go in with a blend of these two colors from my Matte About You palette. And I'm going to pop that on my outer corner and on my crease. I just want to define my eyes a little bit without getting too dark and smoky. And just to add a little bit more dimension, we're going to go in with this dark brown right here and really focus that on my outer corner. And I'm just running that brush with no additional product on my lower lash line just to balance out my eyes a little bit. Next, I'm going to go in with the CoverGirl eye pencil in the shade Espresso, and I'm going to tightline my upper waterline. And for my lower waterline, I'm going to go in with the NYX Jumbo eye pencil in the shade Frosting. Now with a brown liquid liner, I'm just going to give myself a tiny wing. I think this is just such a classic look, and I did the wing a little lower so it's beneath my crease, so my eyes still look like my eyes. I still look like me, but it's just a little bit more defined. Now I'm just gonna curl my lashes and pop on a waterproof mascara, and the waterproof mascara I'm using is the Heroin Make Waterproof Volume Mascara. With this mascara, if you end up getting it onto your eyelid, you just have to wipe it off immediately instead of waiting for it to dry, because once it dries, it is not going anywhere. For my highlight, I'm going to go in with the Becca Cosmetics Champagne Pop that is completely shattered, but it's still such a great highlight. And I'm going to pop some on my inner corners. I'm going to put some on the tip of my nose and on my nose bridge. And for my face, I'm not going to be so haphazard. I'm going to go in with a brush and go in at the tops of my cheekbones, as well as above my brow and, you know, my brow bone. Look how smooth that looks. It just looks so glowy. I thought this was discontinued, but it is not. You can still buy this on Smashbox's website and on my Cupid's bow. For the star of the show, I'm gonna go in with the e.l.f. lip stain in the shade Fiery Red. I'm just wiping off my lip balm. So this is just with one layer on. It looks a little patchy, right? But I'm gonna let this dry down and then I'm gonna blot it off, and then I'm gonna go in with another layer. And it's because when this eventually wears off, this looks a little light, a little patchy. It doesn't look bright red anymore. But if you go in with a second layer after this has already kind of dried, once that gloss wipes off, you're actually left with a bright red stain on your lips. It doesn't transfer, it doesn't go anywhere, it's pretty long lasting, and you can reapply without it like caking up and feeling weird and just like, you know, dry on your lips. And even though this is a lip stain, do you guys know that feeling of like lip stains of like that really watery texture and then immediately like drying to your lips like a temporary tattoo. This does not do that. It actually feels really moisturizing and like slick. After playing with it for a while, I wouldn't recommend you overline your lips with just this. I would maybe go in with a long wear lip liner if you need to overline your lips, because once this gloss kind of wipes off and wears away, your lips are obviously going to be a little more stained and more pigmented than the skin around your lips if you were overlining your lips. So that part kind of just looks like a tint on your skin versus a tint on your lips. It becomes very obvious that you overlined your lips. That is what I've learned from using this product. This is not sponsored, but for a lip stain, I love the wear of it. I love how comfortable it is on my lips, and I love how long wearing and like bright the stain actually is, and it doesn't pull too orange. This one is their like brighter red. I was really afraid it was gonna be like kind of orangey on me because they also have a deeper red, but I was worried it wasn't gonna be like a bright red. And for the Olympics, of course, I really wanted to do a very classic red, very bright classic red. So I really appreciate that a lot of the lip products nowadays, especially in the drugstore, don't pull too orange on my skin tone because I'm pretty cool toned. So that was my spiel. That was my spiel about this lip stain. I'm just so impressed. So I feel like it has kind of sunk in. I'm going to blot it off. This is how much comes off. It looks red still, but it's not as vibrant. You can tell my lips are stained. But if you put on another layer, do you see how smooth that glides on as a reapplication? Like, my lips are very dry, like so dry, and this doesn't feel drying. So this is with the reapplication. It just goes on so smooth. So I'm going to dab this off now. Very little, very tiny. And this is what's left on your lips. Like, it's still very red and very even of a color. I do prefer it with a fresh application, but you're also not going to just like dab off your lips right away. You're going to kind of leave it on and then let it come off on its own. And I think by doing that, your lips will be even more pigmented and even more tinted. This is my finished Olympic inspired makeup look. Very healthy, glowy, classic makeup look. I am so excited to see everyone show off their incredible athleticism. Can't wait to see everyone compete and cheer them on. Now I'm off to watch the Olympics opening ceremony. Comment down below which sport you're most excited to watch, and thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you next time. Bye.